Have you ever thought you wanted something and then started imagining everything that would come with it, and suddenly the whole idea felt exhausting? What if the problem isn't the dream? What if it's the picture you've painted of how you have to get there? In the next 10 minutes, I'll help you untangle the knots of why you think you might be ready to give up on your dream. Hi, guys. Welcome to Coffee Break Coaching. Today's episode is going to be a direct personal experience that I kind of coached myself through this week. So I've been thinking about coaching lately, and if I'm going to go that direction, am I going to get like a life coach certification? Am I going to try to start a life coaching business? And at work this week, I had a little bit different schedule, and I met some new people. I saw a lot of people that I haven't seen in a very long time. And so I had the chance to, talk to people and you really ask them how they're doing, if they were new, what brings them, to the company as a new hire, what are their hobbies, their interests, what are their future plans. I mean, just like all these things about people that I just love talking about. And it kind of felt almost like I was coaching. And I realized that that's the part of coaching that I really like is I love having conversations with people. And I love helping people think differently, and I love asking questions. But what I was struggling with was that I was starting to think that maybe coaching wasn't the right path for me because I'm just getting like kind of not bogged down with it, but just it's just not as exciting. And after this day at work or this weekend at work, I realized that it's not the coaching aspect I don't like. It's all of the other aspects that go with it, like having video phone calls. I don't like doing video phone calls. I know that's the way of the world now, so that's kind of how things have to go, is online. I don't like dealing with social media. I don't like advertising and marketing. I don't like having to worry about scheduling appointments. I don't like doing intake forms. I don't like worrying about the SEO, search engine optimization for the podcast or blogs or anything like that. I just don't like all of that stuff. But I love talking to people. So it kind of made me realize that maybe the problem isn't that I don't like coaching. Maybe I just don't like the version of coaching that I've built in my head, that it requires all of these other things. Because does it really? Do I have to do all of those things in order to have the personal interactions that I have with people? So today's exercise is to draw two columns. Have one column listed what excites me. Write down everything. Write down everything about whatever it is that you might be thinking about or considering or reconsidering. Write down everything that excites you. For me, I actually did this exercise. For me, it is talking with people, teaching, writing, creating digital products, podcasting, learning, and helping people. So just write down whatever comes to your mind, whatever excites you that makes you feel like you kind of come alive, like, oh, I can't wait to do that. You just feel that energy. In column 2, write down what drains me. So anything that that you kind of dread, that makes you feel like just low energy, feel like you just can't do it, you just don't want to do it, it just bleh. So for me, what drains me was advertising, marketing, scheduling, online calls, social media, SEO, trying to do everything just right to grow an audience, and the pressure of a deadline. So those are all things that when I think about it, I'm like, I just can't do it. And it's those things that make me feel like I don't want to pursue a line of like coaching. And really those things kind of go with any sort of business is what I realized when I was looking at my list. I'm like, those are things that you have to do no matter what kind of business you have in today's world. At least for me, 'cause it's going to be online. I'm not going to go likely and have a brick and mortar store. So those are all the things I don't really enjoy doing. Then ask yourself, what if these things don't have to belong together? because a lot of the things you don't want to do, someone else does. And that's awesome. We thank God that He gave us all different gifts, because there is someone out there that loves to do advertising and marketing, and I don't. There's someone that is really good and loves to worry about SEO. I actually used to do some content work for an SEO company as a independent contractor. It was really fun. So maybe you can't afford to outsource these things to people, or not everything, but maybe you can outsource just one thing. There are groups, I know Fiverr is one, where you can hire somebody, and I don't think it's very expensive, to just do a simple task for you. Like I said, there are companies that will write SEO for you. I don't know, obviously, about pricing, but I think there are some fairly cheap ways to hire someone to do some of the more uh, onerous tasks that you don't want to do. And maybe you'll have to decide that some of those things will just have to take a back seat for now. Not forever. You don't totally forget about the whole list of stuff you don't want to do, but maybe you just worry less about them right now. And then maybe you have to take a little bit longer to build your dream, because you have to slow down to just handle one thing at a time. But does that really matter if you have to slow down? In Isaiah 60:22, we read, I, the Lord, will hasten it in its time, meaning that God will bring about what He desires in His own time, not ours. In Ecclesiastes 3:1, to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. So going through a period of doubting is nothing to avoid. There's a purpose for it. This is a time when you can really examine yourself and the dream, because maybe if these things that you don't want to do, if you really are doubting this dream that you have, maybe there's a reason. Maybe it's true resistance and you do need to step back and try a different direction. But don't just completely give up on it right away. Like, really think about why you're doubting it. And is it actually the dream, or is it these other things that you know or you think have to go with that dream? So in my case, I'm going to think about maybe not worrying so much about advertising and marketing right now. If I do want to pursue coaching, I'm going to have to do online calls and worry about scheduling, so I'm not going to outsource scheduling right now. But the pressure of a deadline, I've kind of put a timeline on myself of when I think these things need to happen and need to be done. And so maybe I'll adjust that deadline a little bit and basically give it up and give it to God, because it's my deadline that I chose. It wasn't really His deadline. He didn't tell me, you have to have this done in X amount of time. That was me making that deadline, putting that on myself. So maybe I just give that deadline over to God and just try to walk His path that He has for me and not really try to force anything myself. So another thing, maybe instead of putting stuff in column 2 on a back burner, maybe you make a little bit more time for things in column 1. So look at all those things that excite you. Maybe you do a little bit more of those just to kind of keep that energy going and remind yourself of why you have this dream in the first place. So ask yourself, am I giving up on the dream, or just the version of the dream I've imagined? So really reconsider, if you're doubting your path or your dream, really consider what it is that you're doubting about it. If it's the actual dream, or if it's just kind of what you imagine you have to be doing, or what you feel pressured to do to get there. So this week's coffee break challenge is don't quit. Redesign. Find one way to make your dream look a little more like you. So again, look at that list in column 1, and how can you incorporate a little more of one of those things this week? How can you rekindle that spark and that energy by doing one of those things that lights you up? Make a little bit more time for it. And then when you're in that kind of high zone, when you're feeling really good, like, yes, this is the dream, this is what I want to do, try to consider a few of those things in column 2 that you don't want to do, and see if you're still willing, when you're at that high vibration, that resonance, if you're still willing to do some of those things in column 2, so you can live in that state of resonance. Because sometimes we do have to make sacrifices to get to where we truly want to be and where God wants us to be. Throughout the Bible, people go through hardships on the path that God has chosen for them. But when they put their faith in God, they always make it through. So sometimes you may have to go through some of these rough spots and these trials. So to wrap up, Sometimes we think we need a different dream, when really we just need a different approach. So give yourself permission to build a life that fits you, not someone else. Okay, guys, that's it for today's 10-minute coffee break coaching. If this session encouraged you, I'd love for you to continue the conversation inside our Facebook community. Tell us what's one small thing you're working on this week. We'd love to cheer you on. And if you'd like a printable version of today's coaching exercise, you can download this week's worksheet by joining my free newsletter. You'll find both links to the Facebook group and the newsletter in the show notes and at sarahtyke.com. Until next time, what's one small step you'll take before we have coffee again? Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to you next week.